Kelly's talk, How to Make Stress Your Friend. No wonder it is one of the most popular talks of all time on TED. She presents a revolutionary research finding that if you have a particular mindset during stress, you can actually benefit from that stressful situation.
The mindset the researcher points out to is exactly the mindset of a Bhakti yogi. And I thought you can understand this scientifically, that Bhakti Yoga is the best process to develop that mindset that Kelly talks about.
This study tracked 30,000 adults in the United States for 8 years. And they started by asking people, how much stress have you experienced in the last year? They also asked, do you believe that stress is harmful for your health? And then they used public death records to find out who died. Okay, some bad news first. People who experienced a lot of stress in the previous year had a 43% increased risk of dying. But that was only true for the people who also believed that stress is harmful for your health. People who experienced a lot of stress but did not view stress as harmful were no more likely to die. In fact, they had the lowest risk of dying of anyone in the study, including people who had relatively little stress. Now, the researchers estimated that over the 8 years they were tracking deaths, 182,000 Americans died prematurely, not from stress, but from the belief that stress is bad for you. That is over 20,000 deaths a year. Now, if that estimate is correct, that would make believing stress is bad for you the 15th largest cause of death in the United States last year, killing more people than skin cancer, HIV, AIDS, and homicide. You can see why this study freaked me out. Here I've been spending so much energy telling people stress is bad for your health. So this study got me wondering, can changing how you think about stress make you healthier? And here the science says yes. When you change your mind about stress, you can change your body's response to stress.
Kelly gives a practical understanding of how we can have a positive frame of mind towards stress. She gives the example of research participants who went through a social stress test at Harvard.
Before they went through the social stress test, they were taught to rethink their stress response as helpful. That pounding heart is preparing you for action. If you're breathing faster, it's no problem. It's getting more oxygen to your brain. And participants who learned to view the stress response as helpful for their performance, well, they were less stressed out, less anxious, more confident. But the most fascinating finding to me was how their physical stress response changed. Now, in a typical stress response, your heart rate goes up and your blood vessels constrict like this. And this is one of the reasons that chronic stress is sometimes associated with cardiovascular disease. It's not really healthy to be in this state all the time. But in the study, when participants viewed their stress response as helpful, their blood vessels stayed relaxed like this. Their heart was still pounding, but this is a much healthier cardiovascular profile. It actually looks a lot like what happens in moments of joy and courage.
But it's a challenge to stick to this positive frame of mind when you're actually stressed. Why? The way our brain is structured, we can't do that.
But what we know about the brain is that you don't have a single self. You have 3 selves. First, you have your neocortex or your new brain, and that's the rational self. Now, if I take my model here, this is the neocortex. It's the outside, the wrinkly, pinky part of the brain. But then deeper inside, you have another self, which is your emotional self, which tends to be located here in what's called the middle brain. But deep down, further below in the brain is your reptilian brain, and that's your instinctual self.
According to neurologists, when you are stressed, the part of our brain called the reptilian brain is activated and we act instinctively. The part of the brain called cortex which is our rational brain, becomes dysfunctional.
His name is Dr. Rapai, he's a neuroanthropologist, and he says the reptilian always win. And then this guy who teaches neuroscience at NYU says the amygdala, which is part of the reptilian brain, has more influence on the cortex than the cortex has on the amygdala.
Now things aren't going to work out well even if we try to remember the reasoning that Kelly gave in her talk. The reptilian brain is just going to take over. Now what Bhakti does is, it makes this positive mindset our instinctive behavior, and that's why Bhakti is most effective.
Bhakti Yoga is an age-old path of yoga that has its origin in India.
Bhakti Yoga is about bringing out the dormant love of God, which is within the heart of every living entity. And the whole process is a scientific process of awakening that love.
In Bhakti Yoga, the practitioner is trained to develop a positive outlook in life by developing certain convictions.
For a devotee of the Lord, for a person who has full conviction and faith in the omnipotency, in the omnisciency and the all-loving nature of God, Vishwam Purna Sukhayate, it is described that the whole creation is blissful and full of happiness. The Lord is omnipotent. If He wants to do something, no one can do something against. He knows everything, the past, present and future. He knows what is best for me. And He loves me. And therefore, anything that happens in my life is ultimately for my benefit. In fact, in every situation, He just sees the mercy of the Lord. And he thanks the Lord in all situations.
This conviction in the beginning is more theoretical. Nonetheless, this conviction, this faith is reasonable faith, not blind faith, because it's based on ancient scriptures and it's recommended by innumerable saints of ancient India who lived a life of impeccable character and selfless service. And there are many seasoned practitioners even today who have experienced Bhakti, who can share their experiences with you and who can tell you how you too can have those Bhakti experiences.
I go to a doctor and I say, you cure my disease and then I'll take your medicine. Then I'll develop faith. It doesn't work that way. You have to have some faith in the beginning. Maybe through his degree, certificates, maybe through how many patients went to him and came back healthy and vibrant. But somewhere you have to have the faith and take the first step. And when you take the medicine and see the disease reducing, naturally your faith increases. So there is the head knowledge, jnanam, and then there is the heart knowledge, vijnanam. So initial faith, to build up that initial faith, intellectual conviction is necessary. Logical explanation, reasoning, scientifically trying to prove may be necessary. But until and unless you put to practice and experience it, it all remains theory. And as you start practicing it, pratyaksha avagamam dharmyam, you can experience it yourself.
Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram Idamuttamam Pratyakshavagavam Dharmyam Susukham Kartumavyayam.
When we turn to God when we are under stress, We do that by practicing sadhana, chanting of the holy names, hearing from the scriptures. We gain positive bhakti experiences by connecting with God. And these experiences influence our emotional brain, which lies just above the reptilian brain. As we repeatedly gain these positive emotional experiences over a period of time, our system gets hardwired to be positive all the time. Effectively, we are influencing our subconscious mind. That means we are modifying our reptilian brain. So a seasoned bhakti practitioner feels positive, however stressful the situation might be. In this way, even our body becomes healthy through stress, according to Kelly's analysis. In this way, we manage to make stress an asset.
Watching Kelly's talk left me wondering, perhaps the biology of we humans is pushing us to be more spiritual, pushing us to tap the dormant positivity within us.
Mother Nature teaches us many lessons. What is a diamond? A diamond, which is the queen of jewels, is nothing more than coal that's been under a massive amount of pressure for a long time. And gold, the king of metals, it's purified with fire. So stress can make us something beautiful if we learn how to manage it properly. That means to accept stress with a grateful heart and to actually learn the art of growing through that stress. In order to do so, it's important that we have a strong foundation. The Bible speaks, build your house on a foundation of rock. Then whatever storms come, the house will not be moved. But if you build your house on a foundation of sand, it may look beautiful, but when a storm comes, it will collapse. So it's very important that we have a strong spiritual foundation in our life.